is our tech tips for today is publishing. We're going to get into the printed book, some online ebooks and iBooks. We're going to go through how to publish an app. An example would be with GitHub Copilot. And then how do you publish music online, the music services that are available. And we've got several examples there on the right. We've got some music that Richard Faustino has published there, White Lightning, Storm 2000, Save Haiti, and so forth. And then we have some books. I have a book, Mora. We're currently going to be publishing Ellery. And then some other programming down below, especially for Xamarin Forms and so forth. So we're going to get into all three of these topics. What was the thing that Faustino Brothers do, Russell?
Oh, besides entertain, educate, and enlighten?
Yeah, that's it.
We also, when you're building apps, it requires three things all the time. One is music, one is art, and the other one is code.
That's right.
So between the three of us, that's each of our specialties. So
that's our specialty.
We try to weave together our seminars, because people wonder sometimes, why do you include music as part of this, or why do you include art as part of this, or code? But you really need all three. So that's where we're at.
That's where we're at. Okay, so
hey, was that a chess set you had on that screen back there? What was that on your first screen? Go back a slide.
Go back a slide. Why go back?
Go back right there on the bottom left corner. Is that a chess set? What is that?
That's code, publishing, and music. It's all three that you just talked about.
Very, very good. Beautiful. Okay.
001s is the code. The manuscript is the printed book, and the music staff is in the back. So what you just talked about is right there.
Perfect.
Right?
All right. Sounds
I'm
good.
the graphic artist right there. All right. So Russell, while you're talking, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, Russ Faustino, programmer, and really been boning up lately on the GitHub AI and the GitHub Pilot product. So looking forward to showing everybody that today. And other than that, that's about it for now.
Okay, then Richard, go ahead for it.
We've been working on the Ellery book for about a year now, and it's based on a song I wrote for the children in 1981. And we performed it at the Week of Rock last year, and it was a hit. So we're going to continue on that. And the Week of Rock Band will be doing a show on August 9th, and Ben is part of that crew. And I'm looking forward to our next rehearsal for the Week of Rock Band. And we have a possibility of a new song coming out called You Know That's So, and it's my Santana vignette. So take it away, Garrett.
All right. I'm the graphic designer of the group. I do the business social media and the marketing. As I mentioned, a couple of years back during COVID, we had to figure out things to do. So I finished my book that I was working on for 10 years. So I finished it during the COVID years, and we published it. And it's about an old Italian hand word game called Mora, and some people call it Mudra. And so that's out there. And then I also run the business networking group in Business Links Network. So some of you are part of that network. And so we'll just get going. By the way, we have a QR code there that we'll click on later in the show that goes to all our music and books and memorabilia and so forth. So
T-shirts,
check that out.
Got a lot of good T-shirts like this Buffalo Pain.
That's right. Okay.
And this one too.
We as the Faustino Brothers, of course, we've done a few things like Jethro Tull app from way back when, some Firefox apps, and they're all available in the store. In fact, for that Jethro Tull app, we did receive a copyright for the programming. Russell's programming was fantastic. And as he mentioned, we educate, enlighten, and entertain. So today, what we're going to be talking about with publishing, as we mentioned, the printed book and how you get it out and distribute it. The ebook for your online resources. Some call it ebook, some call it iBook. We'll explain that. Then we're going to go into publishing apps. An example we're going to use is the GitHub Copilot, and then all the music services that are available for publishing your songs. And that little graphic, of course, down there in the bottom left shows all that. All right, and those are the examples on the right that we have put together. Okay, so let's take the printed book first from the famous authors, the giants in the industry right here. You've got Mark Twain that produced, of course, Huckleberry Finn. You got The Color Purple with Alice Walker, Emily Dickinson, her poems, Ernest Hemingway, Ian Fleming, and a few of the others. What do they all have in common? Well, they provided a manuscript or used on a typewriter, or in James Patterson's case, and also J.K. Rowling's with her Harry Potter books, they used a word processor, but they all sent their books by a manuscript, either typed or handwritten, to a major publishing house, right? That was what you had to do. You had to send your manuscript to a major publishing house, and it was usually through a professional agent. You had an agent to do that. You couldn't do it on your own. The dominant wholesalers out there are Simon and Schuster, which you may recognize from Carly Simon. No secret, she's part of that family. So wow. Maybe she had the leg up to get her songs published, possibly. And then you have Penguin Random House and also Macmillan Book Publishers. Those are kind of the big three if you're doing a novel or something of that nature that you want to have major distribution and you're famous. Other ones that are out there that are also big are Sourcebook and Willie, which is they produced the Four Dummies series. And as a matter of fact, they have getting your book published for dummies as well. So there's another reference for you right there.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So you not only could learn from our webinar, but you could also pick up that book if you like. All right. Okay. So how do you get your book to the local library, for example? Okay. Well, you got to work with those previous large wholesalers. You have to contact the library and you have to prepare a sell sheet. What's in that sell sheet? What's it include? Well, some of the basics, of course, your title, your topic, your brief book description. But most important is, why would that library patron want to put it on their bookshelf? And why would patrons of the library want to read it? So it's your what they used to call your unique selling proposition, right? In advertising, what makes your book different or important that they want to put it on the shelf? So you have to think that through, and you have to provide an answer. And they just don't put any book on their shelf. It's got to have a purpose. It's a novel, is it a self-portrait, it's something that would be of value to the reader. Then once you got that established, you got to pick a publisher, you got to pick a publishing date and an ISBN number. There's an example of one right there, which is that ISBN number, it gets your book.
787-5946.
Go ahead.
Gets you distributed throughout the world. In the United States, by scanning that code, your book could be available anywhere. Okay, you have to provide a book cover and what the book format is. A large print, is it English, Spanish translations, or what's included? And then, of course, the back cover, what we already talked about. You got to give a little bit about the author, other books that you've written, and maybe some credits, awards that maybe the author is won. And then you'll get your book into that, for example, the Pinellas Public Library. All right. Self-publishing now, a little different than the traditional publishing, a little bit easier, and some other tools. So if you want to get your book self-published online, and the big markets out there, the first one, of course, is Kindle. They're the biggest publisher for a digital book, right? Their Amazon sales dwarf everybody else. So if you get your book in Kindle, you're almost guaranteed a sale. All right. The next one up is Apple Books. The advantage here is they call it an iBook. You have access to all the Mac users in the world. So that's also another big audience, and these are digital books. And then if your book is relevant for Canada, Kaboo is your place that you want to go. And then there is Barnes and Noble Press, which used to be called Nook. They have their advantages. They have the physical book, the printed book, as well as the digital book in their market. So that's a $2, right? Two whammies for the price of one. All right, but these are all individual. You only can publish to one at a time, or you have to do one at a time for each of them. So what we use is an aggregator. They distribute your book to all the major retailers, and these are the four. And they're by in reality, there's about 12 or more book publishers throughout the world that you want to publish your book at. So we use an aggregator. The one that the Festino brothers use is Draft to Digital, and they were formerly called the Smashwords. And the advantage is here is that they format the book. They do a print on demand, so you could have one book printed or you could have 1,000 books printed. It doesn't matter. They distribute it to all the major retailers, like you see there on the left, and many more. One of their competitors that does a similar service is BookBaby. They coordinate. They do the self-publishing, distribution, promotion. They're heavy advertisers. You would probably see them more so than Draft to Digital, and they're also maybe because of their advertising more expensive. But we use Draft to Digital for which serves us the best purpose. Okay, so what are the steps to self-publishing? Well, the basic things, of course, is you have to write, you have to edit, you have to proofread your book, you have to design a cover, you have to prepare the graphics and photos, and you have to write a description, as we mentioned, about the author and the credits. How to publish a book, you have to choose your publisher, one of those, Kindle or go to an aggregator that does all of them. You have to pick the book format. If it's going directly to Kindle, they have their own format. If you're doing an EPUB, it goes out to the others. And if you're doing a book that has pictures and graphics, like our Mora book, and also some maybe cartoon books or kids books, illustrations, then you want to do a PDF. And you upload the book, you get the ISBN number, and then you pick your market, and you also can pick your price, which is also different from the major wholesalers. They do the market and they pick the pricing, right? But in this case, with self-publishing, you could pick that, and then you do your own promotion as well. Now, companies like Draft to Digital, they also have plans where they do the marketing as well. Okay, so now we're going to get into publishing apps. Before we get into that, I'm just going to mention from our previous webinar back in January, we talked about AI search, a thing called generative fill. And what that is like you do a statement, like you say, show me a picture of a dog sleeping under a palm tree. Well, if you ask that question in one of these platforms like Brad or Watson or OpenAI, it'll come back with a picture. But the difference is it searches the entire internet, and you may not have copyright authorization to use that. The only one that I found that has the authorization is Adobe Firefly, and we showed an example of that in our last presentation that you could find at the link that we shared. Okay, so that's this one thing about artificial intelligence. If you want to be safeguarded with the copyrighted material, one resource is Adobe Firefly. Next, Russell's going to get into GitHub Copilot. So here are the steps in an app store for submission. Russell, do you want to go over these steps?
Great. So the publishing steps. First, you would have to sign up in the developer program and the various platforms for iOS, Android, and Windows. And then you got to create the app, and that's the coding part, where that's the steps 2 and 6 is what we're going to be focusing in on here today. But the rest of the list is basically, then you got to create a listing for the store. Number 4, you got to capture, screenshots and upload all the requirements that they need for app submission. Of course, you have to test the app. You have to engage testers, and then you can create a testing list of emails, and then review the results to go back and modify the app accordingly based on your testing results, and then also promote the app and engage social. So those are the basic steps. And so now we're going to talk about GitHub Copilot. And I got to tell you, one of the smartest acquisitions ever for Microsoft, in my opinion, was to buy GitHub. It's a huge open source repository for developers. The GitHub platform, for example, at the time of acquisition back in 2018, had 28 million developers, and nearly every country represented more than 1.5 million companies, right, across all the vertical markets, healthcare, manufacturing, technology, finance. And so what did they do with all this code? Well, Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, said, we strengthen our commitment to the developer freedom as well as openness and innovation, which is true. But also what they did was they provided a great resource for machine learning. And in addition to that, they used it within, the machine learning models and created GitHub Copilot, artificial intelligence, because that's what's required in all the A products you use is a good source of data, right, that it learns from. And what better source they had for coding than GitHub. So really a great idea. And then so what else? Well, you got AI powered code generation now. So you can go in there and just go ahead and, click on the IDE surface and give a sequence of keys, and then you get a list of, how to fix something, or you get explanation. And this really increases productivity. It learns from suggested code and how it can help with the tasks, and like writing new code and understanding familiar code, fixing bugs, and learning, from suggested code, and how it can help with tasks like writing new code and understanding familiar code and fixing bugs. So all of the above. And then it's also integrated with Visual Studio and VS Code, and we'll show how that works here today through extensions. Also, we're going to be talking about Maui. So we mentioned, we built the Tull app to go to multiple platforms, iOS, Android, and Windows. How did we do that? Well, we used a product called Xamarin. This is actually the new Xamarin, and Maui stands for Microsoft Application User Interface. It is a multi-platform UI, and it's a cross-platform framework. So you can do mobile applications for Android and iOS. You can do desktop applications for Mac OS and Windows, and fridge and TV application for Tizen. And all this works with one set of source code, and it's the evolution of Xamarin Forms, like we said. So why do I care? Well, the pain points here are, now you want to speed up your coding process, and GitHub Copilot provides that real-time suggestions as you type, and helping you write new code faster, and it can auto-complete lines or blocks of code, saving you a tremendous amount of time. It avoids context switching, and this is really important, because here you are coding in the IDE development environment. Maybe you don't know something, so you gotta go browse out to, I don't know, different forums like Stack Overflow, or maybe just do generic searches on something, and you're hunting and pecking and finding, and then you come back to the IDE and it's like, where was I now? And you just lose your context doing that. So by having everything in the IDE, you're staying there, and it's really just so much better for your workflow. It's great for learning new languages. It's fantastic, especially if you know one language, like maybe C# and you want to try something in Pascal. Oh, how do I do this in Pascal? And highlight the code, and it'll go ahead and give you that code snippet. And then it really improves overall code quality, because it's really giving you great standards in terms of the types of code that it generates for you. And also you have the ability to generate the boilerplate code. So let's go ahead and get into this. And what I'm going to do now is, first thing I'll show you is this program I've got here in the middle in Visual Studio. It creates this application here on the right. This is a game. Speaking of games, like our attendees are doing games here today, the interest in game development. So here's one here that's like a puzzle, and this is where I'm going to go toward with a product that FBI Apps is running. So here you got low, medium, high, and then
that's a skill level, right? Yep.
Yeah, the skill level, difficulty level. Thank you. And then you go ahead and flip your cards over and take guesses for a match. It didn't get a match there, so it goes back, and you got to keep doing it, and keeps track of the pairs, attempts, and the total time that you're taking. So that's a pretty good idea where I want to go with this puzzle game. So let's take a look next at where we're going to go with FBI Apps. So I'm going to go minimize this one here, and also point out the code there in that in this one here, which is the one I just showed you for the puzzle game. you can kind of see the makeup of the project. I'll zoom in here a little bit. You can see the platforms right here. All
Yeah,
this is
right.
platform-specific code: Android, iOS, Mac, Tizen, Windows, like I had mentioned. And this is the specific code that revolves around those platforms. And then also take a look at his images over here under resources. These are all JPEGs. And
Wow.
JPEGs are very difficult to master and set right for the appropriate platforms.
You
We
got that
really
right.
spent an awful lot of time of that on the Jethro Tull app.
Yeah.
And man, it was painful. All right, so come full circle. Let's get out of here then and go out to this app. So this is the current one I've been working on, and I'll show you that in a second here. But you can see here in the code window down here, you can see these are SVG files, right? Vector graphics. And what it will do with the vector graphics is it will automatically convert those into PNG. So when you go to reference those in the code,
Oh my God.
which you can see over here, I just go ahead and say, okay, give me that image, but give me the PNG that you generate, right? So it really is just so nice. This is the app when it runs right here. So you can see I've got, again, the low, medium, and high difficult level. And we'll come into this, and then we'll see the actual grid, which I just have place markers in here right now. And there's a go back button. So the go back button is here. This is an Android version. Then also I have a Windows version here that I can show you. And here comes the Windows version. So I'll go with low. I'll do some work on the buttons there. But there's that go back button. But I really don't need the go back button because I've got a little back arrow here. So we'll take a look at that in a minute. But the main thing I wanted to show you is all of these images, they just resize automatically, no matter where you're at. And
That's beautiful.
and there's tricks to getting that to work. And I used GitHub AI to help me get the exact XAML code, which is the markup you see on the left, to generate this. So when you first do this, you might see these lines chopped off halfway or something like that. And you really want them to take the whole cell that they're in. And then you also want them to automatically adjust, you know, like we showed you here when we're resizing, you know, the application. So those are the things you think about, right? When you
Right, that would be for your iPhone compared to your iPad and the other devices that have different screen size.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Gary. And so now let's take a look at what we're going to do here in this navigation. So we looked at the where we came from. So first of all, to start in with GitHub Copilot, you would need to go to your extensions and your extension manager here, and then go to the online one and then do a search here on GitHub Copilot. So I've done that, and basically these are already installed. So I've got both the GitHub Copilot, which facilitates inline help with GitHub Copilot, and then a GitHub Copilot chat. I kind of like the chat myself, so it's a preference thing. They both basically can do the same function either way. So that's what I did over here. We'll get rid of that, and now let's go ahead and demonstrate what you can do here. So I've got a query in here ready to go. What is the XAML down here? You can see it to generate a row with a label, and we'll say a row with 4 labels, and a grid below it with 4 by 4 with images in each grid cell. So let's see what it comes up with here when we go ahead and send this off to GitHub Copilot. So it's thinking.
Oh my God.
And then it comes over here. Now it's going to start giving us an answer, and it's going to come up with a sample grid layout.
Look at that.
And this is all the code, like boilerplate code that you have that you can do this with. I'm going to go ahead and
it made the code in seconds.
Yeah, as opposed to, you know, how long this would take me to do manually. I mean, especially, you know, if you haven't done it in a while, this is really a big time saver. There you can see it. So I've got the 4 rows. I've got the 4 labels that I requested. I've got the grid below it. This is all encompassed in a stack layout. I mean, it looks easy once you understand it, you know, but trying to do this right up front as a task. And then you can see it's got placeholders where you would just go in and replace those with the actual images in your project. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So what else we got here? We can come down over to, so let's say you're new to using view models, right? You say how to add a view model for this page, this detail, I'll call it detail page that I have in the browser, right?
Yeah, the
And
space. Yep.
yeah, it knows, it really takes care of typos. A lot of times I fat finger it and it still understands it, which is really good. I mean, that's a really good feature. And then, you know, it knows pretty much I'm always talking about or asking questions about what I'm showing here on the other side. And so now it's coming up with, you know, the exact code that I need to use in there. Here's the content that I would need for the page. And now it's giving me my label and it's giving me my binding property for image source. So it's taking the image sources and now I'm going to go ahead and use that in my detail view model, which I have specified right there. And it is just, you know, jaw dropping, really. What do you generate, you know, automatically here for you?
How about that, Ben?
Yeah. So then you had noticed that that we had a button and we didn't need it, right, on certain platforms.
Oh yeah, the back button.
Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to paste in a query here to take care of that. Now, what is this ammo code to only show what this go back button for Android deployments and hide for Windows and iOS? Yep. So that's what we want to do. We only want it to show on Android because there's no back button there, and we don't want to, you know, show it for that. So it's going to come up with the parameters that I need on the button click command to do that. So it says, okay, here on platform, if it's Android, or do it true, and if it's not, hide it, you know, with false for the iOS and EWP. So I can take that and I could put it into the code right here. And if you ask it repeated, like the same question, it'll give you even more like complex ways to do it. And initially when I asked this, I got this. So I will go to that button command up here. And I'm going to put in this, which was just a one-line thing where it says, okay, on platform, it's basically doing the same thing, just this is more eloquent. And these two are false and that one's true. And so now I'm going to go ahead and, you know, fire this off in Windows. And what you'll see on the Windows version is now there's no more button there. And this takes about 30 seconds to get up. And, you know, to bring it up, what you could do also is right in the code window, you can click on a spot and type in slash with the command key on my Mac keyboard. I think it's slash and control key on Windows. Here's the app now. So if I go low, come back, there's no back button there because you already got that. All right. So then we know that works. Then over here on the code, this is really great for warnings. Let me stop this from going here. And as soon as this catches up, we'll come over here and I'll say over here, I'll go I'll do a command slash here, or option slash, and I can say, you know, I can do a slash and it gives me all the commands right here: doc, fix, help, explain. I'll go explain. The button above. Right. So it's context sensitive. So it's going to go to the button. It's going to go ahead and put in appropriate information right down over here. You can see it getting generated now. and it tells you the text property does this, the visual property does that, the command does this. So, you know, it really helps you understand everything that's going on. And then finally, the other thing that I use a lot, you know, more so for errors, is down here in this error list. You can see there's an error in the code. So what I can do is I can just copy this and come over here, paste it, and then get rid of this header and just keep the warning in there. And I'll say, okay, you know, what's the problem? How do I fix it? Basically, it's going to tell me how I'm going to fix this. Wow. And so it's going to come back and tell me that this text property that I have in the code needs to be initialized. So it says right here, you got to set this like to empty. Right now in the view model, I just have it set to nothing. I'm really just defining it here. So what I would need to do is put in this, you know, equal and then string dot empty, and then now that'll go away down there as an error. So, you know, that's pretty cool stuff, and it really saves a lot of time. So, Gary, we can go back to you. If we got any questions, we can answer those as well.
Okay.
Nice.
And I'll stop sharing my screen.
All right. And I'll go to the deck. Eric, could you see the deck?
Sure can.
Okay, we're back. That was a good demonstration, Russ, of the GitHub Copilot. It's fantastic. It answers all your questions. It seems like things that we've been puzzled for years.
It's like having a programmer in your back pocket.
It was. Okay, so next here is music publishing. This is a lot of work that the three of us have done, especially Richard. And one of the important things, if you want to publish your music, is to get your music registered by a pro, and pro meaning performance rights organizations. And there are three main pros out there: ASCAP, BMI, and so forth. And if you get your song registered, they help you collect the royalties for both the songwriter and the publisher. It's an even split. If you don't do that, it's not going to be an even split between the publisher and the songwriter. The publisher is probably going to get the majority of the income. Okay, and this usually when you work with BMI, for example, you work through a professional agent. Okay. Now, with self-publishing music, there's some things that you got to do. We found out that we had to convert our WAV music files to MP3s, and we use a program called WAV. It's just called WAV, W-A-V. And what it does, it sets the sample rate, which is 44. I don't know how you see that, 4,400 hertz, right, for CD quality,
right? Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then 24-bit and 2-channel stereo, and it sets all the requirements needed for all those music stores down below: iTunes, Apple Music, SoundCloud, Napster, Bandcamp, Spotify, all of them. It's compatible for all these stores. So you want to be able to make your music compatible to go into these stores, and this is one way that we do it. Some of our top secrets that we're revealing here today. Okay. Right. So how do you get your music distributed? Well, the two best ones that we have found is CD Baby and TuneCore. They provide artist insights. They allow for multiple artists on a single track. Like Richard, for example, you have a song that's written by both yourself and Bonnie. That was Hold On to Your Mind, right? And then you have another song that was Eagle's Nest, that the words were written by your daughter. So you could also give her credit. Multiple artists, that's important. Some stores don't allow you to have multiple artists. All right, so you've got, they also provide the record label. We have Pork Knuckle Records. We could do that. And it provides the barcodes necessary, similar to the ISBN for books. And provides the CD cover that people could find it. But as you know, there are some limitations that CD Baby and iTunes have their own limitations. Sometimes you can't put your own logos on the cover, and it can't have a white background, for example, the cover design. And also you can't provide other credits other than maybe the author of the publisher. So those are some limitations.
And
The-
no website links.
Right, no website link as well.
You got an echo there, Rich.
Okay, so we got the song management, you got a playlist, and they showcase it and they market it. They have their own marketing tools, distribution. We have used them, but one that we found recently is Linktree. We put all the links, and you'll see that later on when we show you where Richard's music is. It goes out to all the stores through Linktree, so that's a good resource for you.
Okay.
2 comparisons for royalties. You got royalty comparison. The what we called the traditional method was when you downloaded tunes from, for example, from the iTunes store. The customer pays $1.25, and the artist got a fixed royalty from that of 9 cents. There you go.
Whopping 9 cents.
9 cents, but it's fixed, and you know what you're getting. Okay, so all right, so now the newer model that came out with like Spotify and so forth is the streaming calculator. Now you got streaming services: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and so forth, Pandora, SoundCloud. So for every 100 streams, you get 40 cents in Spotify.
There you
over
go.
there.
I just
There you
did it.
go.
I figured it out.
Yeah. Title is $1.20.
Yeah, that's amazing that they pay you the most. Amazon gives you 50 cents. The lowest denominator there is SoundCloud. They only give you 13 cents for 100 streams. All right, so here's the links to Richard's songs right there. There's, if you go out to this link tree, which I'll go out to now, as we mentioned that we use. If you click at any one of the songs, here's a new one that we just published, Ellery the Elephant, and Eagle's Wings that I mentioned. You got Spotify, you got Apple Music, and they put all the music stores. Look at them all.
That's good.
Bombay, iTunes, they're all there, and you could download that music in any one of those stores. So it's a very good resource.
Yeah.
Right there. Okay. All right, let's go on to the music lesson. Richard's going to teach Eclipse by Pink Floyd. And by the way, these are actual pictures of the recent eclipse that Richard took right in Tonawanda, New York.
All the clouds, yeah.
All right, Gary, stop sharing your screen so you can.
All right, and there's the music sheets that we have
good.
in the thing there, and I'll stop sharing.
Now, Ben, you have those music sheets, right?
Right.
I think, he's got those. And I wrote these for Russ because he uses the tabs. There's only 5 notes in the melody. There's A, B flat, C sharp, G, and A. That's it. But in the intro, there's 9 notes. And those 9 notes I didn't know for 50 years because I cheated.
Okay, Russell, you're going to have to do the quad sharing now.
Yeah, I'm looking for that again. Pin the
And,
screen.
And the 3 dots.
Yeah, I'm back
So
to
you see
that.
both
I see my
frets
guitar.
and
We need 2 cameras, Ben. One for the hand here and one for over here. So, okay, I think it's good. So, if you're doing the bass guitar, and this, I don't know if you can see that. I'll move my hand over here. Bass guitar starts on the 10th fret and does the octaves. It does D, and it does D on the 3rd string. Then you move a full step down into C and C, and then the B flat and B flat, and then the A and 5. That's what the bass does. That's it. All the way through the whole song, he does a triplet, and it sounds really cool. But the guitar has 3 beautiful chords and 1 ugly one. Okay, you have the D chord. You have D7th. I don't know if you can see that.
Back up a little bit from your camera. There you go. Yep.
And then the ugly chord, the B flat major 7th. Here's the easy version. Here's the correct version. Ben already has this with the bar. He knows how to do that. And then A7. See, he's got his guitar right there. He can play along with me. So for about 50 years, I did this wrong. I did the D chord. I always did like an arpeggio. 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. Then I did D7. Then And I didn't know it was B flat major 7, so I just did a B flat. Then I did the A7. So that was 50 years ago. I finally listened and learned the correct notes that are played on the organ. And my iPad just went off, so I have to turn that back on in a minute. And these notes are really, really cool. It's done like 9 times in the song, 8 times complete times. So let me just do this. I'll call these letters off. D, F sharp, A, D, A, F sharp. Then puts a C bass in there. F sharp, A, D, A, F sharp. Then it goes D, F natural. And that matches the chord that I didn't know years ago. And then C sharp, G, A. So that is really done 8 times in the song. The 9th time, those last 2 measures are not there. Everything is really on the 3rd string. You have A for the melody, B flat, you have a D, and you have a C sharp and an E. 5 notes, that's it. The only other song that I know has 5 notes is Love Me Do by the Beatles. So that's what you have there. And what I did is I recorded it with a horn and a saxophone, and I'm able to do the whole song now with no problem. And it's very slow. And what I do is I strum the chord once per measure. I do a D chord once and twice because it's in 3/4 time. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, D7, 2, 3, to the B flat major 7, the easy way, and A7. So you could practice those 4 chords, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. And Ben knows this rhythm very good. So it's just 1 time. And then when you get to the part where it goes, all that you eat, the bass player starts doing the 3 notes. Like he starts over here, he goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So the guitar should do the same thing. It should be like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you have that rhythm to complement it. You're into the song, so you really want to do more rhythm, you know. 1, 2, 3. And then on the end, you just let it ring again. And let it ring. And then the bass does it extra like that. But it really is a really beautiful song. I would not be teaching it had it not been done on Monday there. So let me play along with my version of it. I have it on the iPad. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to do, but I will try that.
Mm-hmm.
There's that intro. All that you touch and all that you see, all that you taste, all you feel, all that you love and all that you hate, all that you trust, all you say. The notes are really A. All that you give and all that you deal, B flat, and all that you buy, beg, borrow, or steal, and all you create, and all you destroy, and all that you do, all that you say. Then you got that rhythm. All that you eat, and everyone you meet, and all that you slight, and everyone you fight, and all that is now, and all that is gone. And the bass is doing it now. All that's to come, and everything under the sun is in tune, but the sun is eclipsed by the moon.
Yeah, baby.
That's
You know
good.
There we go. Yeah.
and it's almost exactly the same as the real one. Hear that? So I took the time to learn it. All the notes are exactly the same.
Very nice.
See? What do you think? You could do upstrokes, you know, or down. They're the masters. I'm just duplicating it. That's all.
All right.
They indeed are the masters.
So
All right.
50 years in the making, and we are doing Brain Damage and Eclipse for the show on August 9th.
That's fantastic.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
We're
That's
going to do
great.
both cuts. So what do you think of that, Ben? He likes it. I know he does.
All right.
Yeah,
Yep.
all right, thank you.
All right. I guess it's time to return to the deck here.
All right, let's see if you can do that. And
I'm going to share my screen now again.
hope you can see my fingers and everything.
Oh, yeah. That was perfect.
All right, we'll go back to
All right. And I'm going to go with, now that we learned we got to do full screen.
All right, there we go. We're back.
All right.
Hi.
And bring up the deck again.
All right, there it is. Yeah, it took a lot of work to do that.
Yeah, there's a
I like the
nice.
the eclipse in the middle. That's beautiful.
All right. So there's the music sheets that we provided in the deck as well as in the chat window as well, I believe. And so if you want private lessons from Richard, he's got an online link on the Weekawaka website. So you could do that as well as in-person lessons. All right. And we're just
Hey,
going to
look
close
at
the
that.
show with some of our, what do you call it? Shameful
Memorabilia.
plug, right? With our merchandise and memorabilia. We got t-shirts, especially for May the 4th be with you coming up, and also Revenge of the 5th.
Yeah,
And-
and I
and
got
we
the
also
blue
have,
shirt on here.
Hurricane t-shirts and
Blizzard.
Blizzard t-shirts and festival t-shirts available that you could do. And then of course all the other memorabilia from the Week of Rock, the Mora books and so forth, and the banners. You've probably seen some of these, right?
Yeah.
And so in closing, we touched on printing books, real actual physical books, the digital books, publishing apps with GitHub Copilot and music services like
EMI too. Yeah.
right, and EMI and some of those like TuneCore and so forth and CD Baby.
Yeah.
Right. So our next, these are the credits for the show today. So those are the resources that we use. And our next webinar is coming up is July 8th, 2024. So put that in your calendar. And there's our link tree, which I could click on for you. And it goes to all our resources, as I mentioned.
Yeah,
Our
so the
Christina
deck
brothers,
is up
right
there, and the music sheets from today are up right at the top too.
Right, music
Oh,
sheets
good.
are there. Your PowerPoint recaps from well, now it's going to be from 2024. We'll change that, and then all these are available. All the shows that we've presented, the books, the
Yeah.
recordings, are
The links to
resources.
the merchandise is in there too.
right,
Yeah.
and our social media and so forth. So there's our shameless plug. So I hope you enjoyed the show today. And it'll be available on Linktree and also through our in business SEO right here.